Whenever you're ready.
I'm sure all of you out there have your own opinion or view about the death penalty, whether it's right or wrong based upon your morals or religious beliefs. But I'm here today to shape or maybe change your view on the death penalty. What if today when you went home you find out that one of your friends or loved ones had been killed for no reason? Maybe your mom was at the grocery store and it got robbed, and the gunman used her as a hostage and ended up killing her. Or maybe one of your friends went to a party and they were a victim of a random drive-by shooting. Would you want their killer to be put in jail or put to death? You might already have your own stance on this difficult issue, whether or not the death penalty should be legal. But I'm here today to give you numerous reasons why the death penalty is a fair and just form of punishment. The death penalty is a fair and just form of punishment because it gives ultimate justice to the victim's family. It deters future crimes, and because the DNA testing has become highly accurate over the past decade or so. I'll start off by telling you why the death penalty will give the victim's family the highest form of justice. People throughout the United States, in California, or even in your own city, have had family members, friends, or anyone they know know someone who has been murdered. But according to the Death Penalty Information Center, only 2% of convicted murderers get the death penalty. That doesn't sound justice to me. Families should not have to sit and endure the pain of losing someone they love dearly, while the person who took their family member or friend's life is just sitting in jail. In the article, A Capital Offense, If Death is a Little Use Penalty, What Will Give Murder Victims' Families Closure and Peace, by Jean Metzoff, interviewed an 18-year-old girl named Amber, whose dad was a police sergeant. Her dad was killed in the line of duty about 2 years ago. She says, "I know any punishment they receive won't bring my dad back, but the worst punishment possible will bring me closure." Why should the man who killed Amber's dad, who was protecting the community, be able to sit in jail while she is at home crying because she was never able to say bye to her father? The killer had a choice to do what he did. Amber's dad did not have the choice whether he wanted to live or die that night. If her dad's killer is not sentenced with the death penalty, he will be sitting in jail, eating a hot meal, writing to his family and friends, receiving phone calls and visits from people, while she was at home looking at a picture of someone she once knew, remembering all the great memories she shared with him. The person who committed the crime is able to say sorry to his family and bye to his friends, when Amber's family has nothing and is sitting there with nothing but memories. So put yourself in Amber's shoes. It could have been your mom or your dad, or it could have been your cousin, your sister, your brother, or even a friend. So next time such a tough subject is brought up, you will know and be able to understand what the family is going through. Now that you've heard a story from a girl who experienced the pain of losing a loved one firsthand, I'm going to tell you why the death penalty deters crime. In 2008, the Death Penalty Information Center proved that 65% of convicted murderers on death row had a prior felony at the time of the murder. 9% had a prior homicide conviction at the time of the murder. 7.8 had criminal charges at the time of the murder. 26.7 were on probation or parole, and 5% had escaped from incarceration or were incarcerated. American citizens are the first to complain when their car is stolen, house is broken into, or a family member or loved one is kidnapped and killed. But they refuse to look at all the facts and believe what their morals or religions do not. So I hope after hearing these facts, you will understand the majority of the people who commit a crime are willing to commit a crime again. So not only does the death penalty make sure the murderer is never going to commit another crime, it will deter other people from wanting to kill because they know they will receive the ultimate punishment. Now that you have heard a story from a girl who experienced firsthand the results of having a loved one killed, and also listened to some facts, it is time to explain why the death penalty, or why the DNA testing makes the death penalty an accurate form of justice. DNA testing has become more accurate over the past decade or so. It is very trusting and useful in cases involving murder and rape. DNA testing helps innocent inmates who were falsely convicted by a jury and were put on death row claim their innocence. Convicted felons can sit on death row for 15 to 20 years. So throughout that time, they have the chance to claim their innocence and get people to believe they were wrongly accused for a crime. According to the National Geographic in 2004, United States Congress passed a law encouraging all states to enable post-trial DNA testing, and the legislation provides funding for these tests. This benefits the convicted felon greatly. Ryan Matthews experienced DNA testing proving innocence firsthand. Ryan was 17 years old when he was convicted in 1999 of the murder of a grocery store owner based on a questionable eyewitness testimony. Even though his DNA did not match that of which was found in the ski mask which was left at the scene of the crime, the jury still found him guilty and convicted him of murder and put him in jail and sentenced him to death row. Ryan's lawyers petitioned the retest in 2003 after they heard rumors that the real killer, Ronald Love, was in Louisiana State Prison bragging to fellow inmates that he was the actual killer of the store. And so after five more DNA tests were completed, it proved that Ryan was innocent of the crime. And after being in prison 5 years, he was released. Ryan was the 115th death row inmate in the past 25 years to be released of charges based on their innocence in a DNA test. As you can see, the death penalty is a fair and just form of punishment for an individual who commits such a terrible crime. It not only brings justice to the family in Amber's case, but the facts I presented today will help show how the community will benefit as well. And not only is it a form of justice, but it's a fair form of punishment with the technology we have today. And innocent people will most likely not be killed wrongfully. So I hope next time this wrong issue is brought up, you'll put yourself in the other person's shoes and understand what your family is going through before you make your choice of whether or not the death penalty is right.
So, Brandy, what did you think?
I thought you were really brave for choosing such a controversial subject matter. I think you did a little bit of reading from your cards, but that's just because, obviously you did have some statistics and facts and stuff that you had to read. Some of the other parts that you probably could have done without the reading. A lot of the beginning, though, was a lot of opinion, and you kind of got into some of the facts later, maybe spread out a little bit more of the facts. Just so that way it doesn't sound like half your speech is just, just opinion. Especially on a subject like that. And then you use the same changeover from one of your points to the next as you did from that point to the next. So that you just might want to watch out for. And I thought you did really good though with information at the end, like the DNA testing and things. A lot of that stuff I'm sure a lot of us didn't know. I didn't know these. So I thought that was really good.
All right, yeah, you mentioned a couple of things that I was thinking about that are kind of hard to pick out sometimes. The transition language that you use on a couple of the points seems so repetitive, and I like the idea of the internal summary, but because it's phrased in such a similar way, it does sound redundant. And there's an issue at the end that sounds very much like the summary that you had on the first point also that comes back, and I'm going, a little extra work there might have made it more interesting and more appealing. I like the value claim that you're taking basically at the beginning of the speech. You do come down on a point of view here and you set up a criteria that you want to talk about. On the first point, you've got a nice emotional appeal here. You've got a story and an illustration. And I like the contrasting that you do in the later part of the story where, this woman, Amber, has to, all she has to console herself is a picture, and you contrast that with the visualization. Look, his life in jail isn't great, but you know what? His family knows he's alive. They can talk to him anytime they like. And, she's never going to have that opportunity again. And I think that gives a pretty good emotional resonance to what you're talking about. There's probably more that you could do.